Now, shall we have a review?
Yes. So we've both seen this. This is going to happen all the way through the programme. So EO, which is the new film by Jerzy Skolimowski, who is a Polish director whose directorial CV is eclectic, to say the least. This is a contender for the Best International Feature Oscar, in which it goes up against All Quiet on the Western Front, which is the pack leader, Quiet Girl, which is has made history as being an Irish film nominated in that category. Things like Argentina 1985, which I think has got a very, very sort of, a strong following. This is inspired by a Bresson film, which some people may have seen, from 1966, Au hasard Balthazar. At the end of the film, it says, this film was made out of our love for animals and nature, and the well-being of the animals was always our first priority, which is always good to know because it's the story of a donkey. The donkey begins in a circus, and it's a kind of strange red strobing experience of the circus, but the donkey clearly has a great bond with this young woman who performs under the name Cassandra and who seems to love him, genuinely love him, and to take care of him, even when the owner of the circus is somewhat brutal. Here's a quick clip.
Yeah. Die! Yeah.
Nie waż się go dotknąć, Wasyl. Nie waż się, rozumiesz? Spróbuj tylko.
So what you see there is somebody whipping the donkey, trying to get it to pull a cart. And the young woman says, leave him alone and don't you dare try it. The rest of the film is then a series of encounters with people who are either kind or cruel. So there are encounters with somebody who is particularly brutal. There's an encounter with a furrier who's snapping the necks of foxes who are in cages. There's an encounter with somebody who tries to sell the donkey for illegal meat. And there's an unexpected friend who admits that he's eaten a lot of meat, including donkey meat. But there are also these encounters with young kids in a petting zoo in which the kids are, delighted and thrilled by the presence of the donkey. And there is strange and unexpected friendship. And all the way through it, you see the world through the donkey's eyes. The two things that are apparent are, firstly, it's not primarily about the donkey, it's about the people that the donkey meets, which is also true of the Bresson. The Bresson has quite a strong religious allegory. I mean, you can't mention donkeys without thinking of Little Donkey and the donkey in the stable, all that stuff. In this, I think the religious allegory is slightly played down. I mean, there is a scene of the donkey in a stable with a heavenly light, which does appear to be very sort of overtly spiritual. But I think it's, if anything, it's more a kind of just a look at the people. It's very non-judgmental. It does present a view of humanity, which is you never know who to trust and you never trust people's motives, and kindness comes up in unexpected places. But the reason it worked for me, and I found myself profoundly touched by it and very moved by it. Firstly, it has an extraordinarily inventive score, which I really, really loved. Secondly, the cinematography goes from being, on the one hand, this kind of handheld verite, neo-realism, to flying drone shots going through woods like fairy tales, and you keep expecting Hansel and Gretel to appear. So it's got a fantasy edge. There's even a sequence in it with a robot dog, or what is that? It's a...
Yes, so this occurs at an interesting point in the narrative, right? When the donkey is at death's door.
Yes.
It's in a very bad state of repair. I took it to be this kind of, dare I say, post-apocalyptic fantasy of, the donkey's kind of imagining
it's almost
a
like
future in which donkeys become robotic. It's one of those strange, wobbly, teetery robot creature things that you see clips going viral of on social media.
It's almost like the very end of AI when
yes,
which is weird, isn't it? Because but what's fascinating about the film is that a film about a donkey having these series of picaresque encounters with people could actually have a moment in it in which there's that, and it seems that it reminded you of that as well. But it doesn't matter whether you understand it or not. And then at the end, there's this encounter with Isabelle Huppert, which is to do with religion and communion and incest and all this kind of really strange stuff. I really liked it. I found it very, very touching. I found some of it very upsetting. There was a bit of it when the donkey is going downstream, reminded me of Night of the Hunter. Didn't you think?
100%. The spider, the frog plopping down the stream.
Yeah.
There's no question that Event Hunter was in Skolimowski's mind in that.
And I think that something that can throw the net that wide and yet really be a fairly simple story, which is the donkey's passed from hand to hand, from person to person, and experiences kindness and cruelty and human life in all its, different forms. I thought it was quite, and there's a bit of Don Quixote at one point when suddenly there's the windmills. I thought it was kind of quietly profound. I loved the score. I absolutely loved the score. And I thought it looked really, really impressive. The score is by Pavel Mikietin. We played some of it on Scala, and it's really good.
Yeah, 100% down to the Night of the Hunter reference. Completely agree.
Wow. And we haven't discussed this.
No, we haven't.
No, we haven't.
But no, it's really interesting that, Skolimowski's getting on a bit now, right?
It's 84, something like that.
And yet he's able to make a film this kind of free and this kind of playful. I mean, it has a really kind of youthful spirit that I loved. Mm-hmm. I think also it's interesting he's tacked away from the religiosity of Bresson, which might kind of land a little awkwardly now. And it's much more about these
not in the 60s, but now.
It's much more about these kind of empathy puzzles. So these handheld verity shots that you mentioned, we're always in on Eo's face, looking at these kind of soulful but very mysterious dark eyes that's taking the world. It's very much from the donkey's point of view, but the way in which Skolimowski's camera is moving around the donkey, I think, is kind of inviting us to wonder, what is he thinking?
Yes.
How do we parse this look?
Yeah.
Because he's not a human. He's not going to be perceiving the world in this way. There's a very funny / upsetting encounter with football hooligans as well, where we're kind of invited to look upon them as a pack of animals, I think.
Yeah.
But it's always about, how does this completely non-human perspective on humanity, how do we kind of decode that and how do we process that? Yes, I was very charmed by it and very moved.
Very good. Well, we're on the same page. That's 1 for 1.
Thanks very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as we enjoyed making it. While you're here, check out all the other videos because they're cool too, aren't they?
Yeah, and if you want to keep up to date with everything Kermode and Mayo's take, then check out our social channels.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
I mean, I would.
There you
I
go.
have done.
Excellent.